Hi, welcome to the Webb Report. My name is Stuart Webb. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Greenland, Canada, Panama Canal situation. We've been hearing a lot about those countries and those areas, right? Here's out of NBC News. The president-elect is suddenly pushing to annex Greenland, reclaim the Panama Canal, and absorb Canada, provoking longtime allies just days before taking office. Now, 15 years ago, you would be called a crazy conspiracy theorist if you suggested that there might be plans or there might be a nefarious agenda to make the North American continent one nation under one rule, right? Under one big central government, okay? You would have been called crazy. But now we are seeing very serious moves and rhetoric about this, essentially this happening, because that's what this means. The Canadian government is falling apart, and a lot of this is due to the violation. The governments around the world, Canada's a great example of one, Australia as well, they are massively violating the natural rights of their citizens, okay? And because they have been doing that for so long, and after 2020 it went to a whole nother level, Canada is experiencing very dire times right now, economically. And now is it entertaining that Trump is considering doing this or threatening to do make these moves? Is it entertaining? Yeah, it's kind of entertaining if it couldn't get so serious. Okay. Again, 15 years ago, you would be called a conspiracy theorist if you suggested that this type of situation could happen. It absolutely could. And what that means for people that think this is entertaining and they think it's going to benefit America, it might, in the short term, there might be some things that we benefit from if something like this happened, whether we absorbed Canada or, Greenland's not really, I don't think that's a factor, but Canada, I mean, there's 57 million people there. It's a pretty big economy, a pretty decent sized economy. And then we've been hearing Trump say that we need to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. Okay, so all this kind of rhetoric, and it leads to a North American Union. It leads to North American, the continent becoming under one rule, becoming one nation, and I do not think that is good. That is not a good thing, and I'll tell you why. The beautiful thing about how the United States, how it started, is that all the states, they essentially governed themselves. Now, there was what's called the United States Constitution, which ensured the people of all those states that their natural rights would be protected and that they would have recourse. They could go to the federal government and say, hey, this state government is violating my rights. I can petition the federal government and they can protect me. Their sole duty really was, the most important duty of the federal government is to protect natural rights, okay? Endowed to us by our Creator, right? And so the reason why this whole situation is scary and could be very dire, when we're talking about absorbing Canada, and these are not small things. This would be a very big deal, okay? If we started to absorb countries and then the continent would just become one nation. That's where we're going, okay? The problem with that is that the federal government has been violating our natural rights for so long now, and it's only getting worse. So it's not going to help making them even more powerful and absorbing even more countries and exerting even more control, a big central government exerting more control over a bigger geographical area. This would not be good, okay? What here's ideally what should happen. If you want to promote freedom, true and correct principles, the principles of liberty, the protection of natural rights, what you do is you, in your own country, you live by those things, your governments respect them, and then what you do is you tell other countries to say, hey, look at our model. We protect people's natural rights, and we have it enshrined in our law. Here you go. Here's a blueprint for doing the same thing in your country, which, ironically, many countries around the world have adopted similar things as the United States Constitution. And so that is really what should happen, and ideally that's what you'd want to happen. Not have a big, overreaching, corrupt, tyrannical central government take over a bigger geographical area. No, I don't think that's good. In the Bible, it talks a lot about this kind of stuff happening in the future, or being attempted, where essentially in the Bible it talks about the mark of the beast. People will be living under essentially a one world government, and again, you'd be called crazy, right? 15 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, you'd be called crazy if you even discussed this, talked about it. But in 2020, as we've witnessed, a lot of things have changed, and I'll tell you why this has been on my mind a lot. This Greenland, Canada, Panama Canal situation, because in 2020, the governments around the globe violated our natural rights on such a massive scale that we've never seen before. And so when we say, oh, that will never happen, yeah, they won't force you to get a vaccine just so you can go to work and provide for your family. That will never happen. Well, it did happen. It did. Many people were manipulated and basically forced into taking the shot. So when I see things like this, these moves, it could absolutely happen. And it can happen fast, too. We need to remember in 2020 how fast things happened. Things might be relaxed now, back to normal, right? We might feel that way, and a lot of times I feel that way. In fact, in 2020, I have to remind myself what happened 5 years ago, because we will forget. If we're not vigilant, we'll just forget and we'll get complacent. So we need to take these kind of things seriously. Would this kind of move benefit the United States or benefit us? Potentially.
Hey, Dad.
But ultimately, this is not going to be good. I don't have a good feeling about this. Again, you might be entertained by this in the short term, but ultimately, I don't believe that doing this, more people are going to have more freedom. That's the thing. This is how you promote freedom and protection of natural rights. Persuasion and example. Okay? That's how you do it. You can't go and liberate a country. Okay? You can help. There's ways that you can help, but the best way is persuasion and example. You give the blueprint, and then you let the people in that geographical area decide how they want to be ruled. So you need more local control, more protection of natural rights. You need a decentralized government. When you have decentralized power and decentralized government, there's a lot less chance that your natural rights are going to be violated. Okay? When you give a bunch of power and authority to a corrupt, tyrannical central government, that you're going to lose your protections. You're going to lose the protections of your natural rights. That's just what's going to happen. So we need to be very vigilant about this, and we should be careful, because if we're talking about Canada, why not? I mean, Mexico's next, absolutely, especially with all the lawlessness at the border and the cartels and all that stuff. No, we need to promote governments enforcing protection of natural rights, and that's what we need to do. And we need to also enforce our own laws here, okay? And protect natural rights here in this country. We need to prove that our government can protect our natural rights before we start taking over other countries, and those people being under the same income tax dictatorship that we've been living in. It's very scary to think about. And not only that, if we're talking about taking over a country, I mean, there's people in that country that they're probably going to have some issues with that. Yeah, maybe people hate or not fans of Canada right now. A lot of people that live there, but which I feel for them, absolutely. But what we need is we need to give them the blueprint, and they need to follow the blueprint. But unfortunately, we haven't been great examples of that lately. Okay, so but that's what needs to happen. This could get very scary. This could get very serious quickly. So we just need to be vigilant. And this has been weighing on my mind because everyone's talking about this, and we need to take it seriously. And just remember, the European Union has not been good. Has not been good for for Europeans and the citizens of all those areas and those nations that used to be a nation, but they're under one big central government now. It has not been good for them. Okay, they've only lost protections of their natural rights. So North American Union, that's what I see coming out of this. Something like that. Some sort of path to that. And you should be aware of it. And don't just be entertained and think it's funny. Really start to think of the implications of this. These are not small things. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I wanted to get that out because it's been on my mind. Stay vigilant and have a good night.